Hey, what is up, mortals? It is TheLuckyDerp here. Welcome to the fourth part of What If Orochimaru Never Attacked a Leaf Village. Just wanted to greet you guys by saying sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. And so we begin. The third Hokage Hiruzen looked over at the Kazekage to see him in the process of making some forms of hand signs. This rather startled him, as it was no secret that their village were currently at odds. Upon watching him, however, he saw that the Kazekage was merely using a large amounts of sand to fill in cracks that were made in the arena wall when Naruto used his summoning jutsu. The Kazekage turned to him to see Hiruzen nod in appreciation. They both turned back to the ongoing fight to see Shigure poison needles bouncing off of Neji's palm rotation. That blonde boy was really something, is he not, Hiruzen? That summon has to be beyond most Jonin. Surely he'll be granted the rank of Chunin. That summon was most impressive, but it is doubtful that he would be promoted even if he won this tournament. Raza looked taken aback. Oh? Why is that? Naruto is a notorious prankster and an impulsive child. He has vast reserves of chakra and is quite determined, but none of that is a substitute for maturity. To put anyone under his command right now would be a horrible error. It is nothing against him. He seems like he will grow to be a great shinobi, but impulsiveness and immaturity can scarcely be tolerated at a genin level, much less a Chunin. I see. On the other hand, this young Hyuga seems to fit your criteria quite nicely. He might even be your successor, Lord Hokage. Neji Hyuga is a different story. He also doesn't belong with the others. His speed, strength, intellect, and bloodline put him above most Chunin that I've seen. Neji dashed in to hit Shigure in the final chakra point. Shigure coughed up blood and collapsed, clutching his abdomen in agony. Without even waiting for the match to be called, Neji walked away from his downed opponent without a scratch or bead of sweat on him. Lee watched from the television in the waiting area as the announcer called the match for Neji. It was settled then. He would have to fight Neji in the next round. As he felt the nervousness and dread set in, he closed his eyes and proceeded like he always had in situations like this. He clenched his fists and furrowed his brows in determination. A fire lit up in his eyes as he began shadowboxing. The chilly winds of nervousness only fanned the flames more. Naruto looked on and couldn't help but smile. Maybe he could do the same against the winner of the next match. And with that, he turned his attention back to the screen to see Sasuke and Gaara begin their match. Elsewhere, Orochimaru walked with Kabuto into their laboratory, where he stored his current subject for a project he hoped would increase his manpower. Their temporary state of death has been achieved, and the curse marks are becoming accustomed to their body, Lord Orochimaru. It shouldn't take longer than one full day for them to be ready, but if I may ask, what changed your mind about them? Orochimaru stared into the three large glass cylinders that housed the three that he planned to send into the Chunin exam. Dosu Kunata, the bandaged and hunched genin, who had the ability to project high-frequency sound vibrations from his forearms, capable of bursting people's eardrums and causing vertigo. Zaku Abumi, the spiky-haired cocky one of the group, who had the ability to propel air pressure and sound out of the holes in his palm. And Kin Suchi, the dark-haired girl, capable of throwing Sanbon extremely accurate and putting people in a sound-based genjutsu with her bells. They may be more important as soldiers than as pawns. I wanted them to test Sasuke Uchiha at the Chunin exams, but of course, Rasa ruined that. They are quite loyal, and they will do anything for our cause. I'm sure I can find a place to put them to good use. In fact, I think I have an idea already. Back at the exams, Sasuke panted and tried his best to stand up straight in victory. As soon as his Chidori touched Gaara's chest to his ultimate defense, Gaara's teammates interfered and took him away, apparently trying their best to calm him down, resulting in a disqualification for Gaara. The Kazekage was furious. Although he tried his best to hide his fury, all three of his genin had been eliminated before the semi-finals even started. These exams did a better job of promoting the Leaf Genin than anything else, as all four of the finalists were Leaf Shinobi. On top of this, wherever Gaara was, he was an inch away from a rampage, and Rasa could not leave to help Temari and Kankuro. The Hokage considered saying something, but upon reading the room, he thought better of it to stay quiet. In the stands, Tenten leaned forward as her two teammates were called to the arena. Guy-sensei, shouldn't Lee just give up? I mean, they spar all the time and he never wins. Why waste everyone's time and tire Neji out before he has to fight in the finals? Guy responds by laughing a deep-bellied laugh that continued for far too long. Believe it or not, Tenten, you have never seen Lee fight at his best. I think this will be a closer fight than you think. And even if that were not true, just try and convince Lee to quit at anything. He's been told that his entire life, and he uses it as fuel. Tenten hung her head, feeling guilty for saying that. She didn't mean to talk bad about Lee behind his back. It's just that Neji's so far above the rest of them. She didn't want Lee to get hurt. Kakashi and Sakura paid little attention to this interaction, as they knew that the fight after this would be Naruto versus Sasuke. Kakashi was a bit excited to see the two of them fight, and hopefully one of them win the tournament. Of course, the bickering in the future missions may get worse, but this fight might give the winner motivation to stay on top and the loser to motivate to surpass the other. After all, that is how himself and Guy became some of the best shinobi in the village. In fact, because of the two matchups, the finals would be the best of Guy's students against the best of Kakashi's students. Guy and Kakashi were mentally forming an unspoken challenge to each other over the finals of this competition. Sakura, on the other hand, was scared of the result that their match may bring. She didn't think Naruto could beat Sasuke, but she also didn't know that Naruto could summon a toad the size of a building. If Naruto did beat him, Sasuke might get angry and lash out at her or Kakashi. He would see himself as a failure for a long time because of his loss. She's worried that the rivalry would destroy their teamwork, right after the Forest of Death built it up. In the arena, Lee bowed politely as Neji took his classic gentle fist fighting stance. Neji has considered trying to ask Lee to concede, but he knew that was pointless. Apparently, Lee hadn't learned from the countless losses against him in the past. The proctor trailed on with their instructions and congratulated them to making it this far, but Lee and Neji hardly listened. As they looked at each other, there was no screaming crowd or proctor. There wasn't even Guy-sensei or a Hokage watching. There was only the opponent in front of them. "Begin!" the proctor exclaimed. Lee ran at Neji, jumping in the air with a spinning kick. Neji dodged under effortlessly. Around half of their sparring sessions began that way. This may be easier than Neji first thought. Neji fought patiently and defensively, deflecting blows and waiting for an opportunity to strike. When Lee tried to sweep his feet, he saw his opportunity. Neji jumped over Lee's calves and countered with a knee to Lee's chin. While he was stunned, Neji saw his opportunity and began to strike. 8 trigrams, 2 strikes, Neji shouted, shooting his outstretched index and ring finger at Lee. To his shock, his hand stopped as if it hit something metal. Lee looked up with a sly smile, as he held up the ring of his kunai in front of the area of his chest that Neji always strikes first, causing his finger to become caught as Lee used the kunai as a lever and bent his finger backwards. Neji jumped back and shook his hand, trying to ensure that he could attack again when they engaged again. This bit of time was enough. Lee knew that this could go wrong at any moment if he was not careful, so he sat down and rolled up his leg warmers and removed his training weights, placing them on the ground rather gently. Neji scowled. He didn't know that Lee was wearing those, and it was insulting that Lee would start the fight while not on his best. He began to say something before Lee seemingly disappeared. The crowd gasped as Lee blitzed Neji from the side and kicked him in a good distance across the battlefield. As Neji tumbled, he regained his footing and his Byakugan, and saw Lee approaching. On pure instinct, Neji was able to strike in the direction that Lee was approaching from, attempting to cause internal damage with his chakra. The strike hit Lee as Lee connected with a punch of his own, causing them both to stumble to a knee. With Lee moving this fast, there was no way Neji was going to be able to strike his chakra points precisely. He would need to deal damage to slow him down, then finish with a 64 palms. Knowing that Lee was likely becoming antsy, Neji stayed and waited for Lee to approach. As soon as he saw him disappear, he waited a moment, about the length of time it usually takes Lee to attack. Then, without regards to the direction Lee was coming from, he activated his palm rotation. Lee dropped down from the sky with an axe kick, slamming into the rotation but not breaking it. The contact with the chakra wave sent Lee flying and slightly burned his leg from the heat and energy. Lee wondered what he could possibly do to counter that move. Usually his opponents are dumbfounded if they can't see where he's coming from, but with rotation, it doesn't seem to matter. However, his last kick made the waves of chakra feel like they are possible to simply break through enough force. It was worth a try in his eyes. Lee performed a few backflips to form some room between the two, then ran with all of his might to gather as much speed as he could. A punch would be too close for comfort, so he sprinted in with a flying kick, with the form of kick he once saw Guy-sensei use. Dynamic kick! Lee screamed as Neji threw up the rotation again, causing a huge clash. The sphere bent and strained under the pressure as Lee's foot began taking damage. Lee grit his teeth through the pain, but the shield stayed true. This time, instead of the rotation bouncing Lee away, Neji deactivated with impeccable timing and began to strike Lee as he landed close to him. 8 trigrams, 2 palms. 4 strikes. 8 strikes. The crowd slowed their cheering as it seemed like the underdog was finished. Some covered their mouth in disbelief, and others simply looked disappointed. 16 strikes. 32 strikes. 64 strikes. Once again, Neji, after landing his last blow, deactivated his Byakugan and walked away from Lee, as he wobbled, barely conscious. He knew that Lee had no way to use his chakra now, not to mention the damage he has taken thus far in the fight. But strangely enough, Neji did not hear Lee's body collapse behind him. Out of curiosity, Neji turned around to see Lee standing in a determined look on his face. He activated his Byakugan to see more chakra in Lee than ever. In the stands, Guy-sensei did his best to not show favoritism, but he couldn't help but smile. Lee had used the flow of chakra from the 8 gates to undo the blockage from the 64 palms. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in the story thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now there are a few more things I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, we've got a primary channel called We the Celestials. We the Celestials is what we do here already, but their content's centered around the crazy world and lore of My Hero Academia, so please check us out over there, if you're feeling in the mood for a roller coaster of quirky content. We also have another relative to our channel, Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your weeb knowledge for all kinds of series guaranteed. I'd like to let you all know that on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. If you're perhaps interested in what we do here at WTC, then I would like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being we only accept members 16 or older to join our crew. You can find us on our Discord, which you can locate in the description below. Our Discord is an all-around fantastic place to be. Whether you're a fan or looking to join our band of misfits, all you gotta do is hit up the recruitment server and sign up for whichever category of work that fulfills your interests. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video, so thank you all for watching and have a great day.